Greetings, Retro Zoltan here. I have before you a very interesting handheld device called the X-Tron Pro. I sort of missed the boat on the successful Kickstarter for this item from a company called Ovobot. I saw someone else review it and I wanted more, so what better way than just get it myself. I did a little digging into Ovobot and this is what they're about. Their mission statement overall is to develop STEAM products that are fun and usable. Fair enough. I've never heard of STEAM learning before. I literally thought they meant STEM, and after some investigating, yes, STEAM learning is a thing. It's out there and there's a lot about it, but I won't get into that. I'm probably the only one that didn't know this existed, but I'm fairly positive that's not why you're here. I was curious immediately by the name of this thing. If this is an X-Tron Pro, what's the regular X-Tron? Apparently, the original prototype was a sort of circuit board looking thing that in my honest opinion looks pretty good. I totally would have bought one of those, and for real, I'm tempted to contact Ovobot to see if I can get an original. This prototype apparently is easily breakable and not inspiring enough, and they pooled resources together to take a daring leap into what is now known as the X-Tron Pro. So let's dig in and unbox this thing. Already for me, it's clearly for kids as intended. I mean, it comes with stickers, a sort of postcard template for drawing up a graphic of some sort. The device itself kind of gives me flashbacks of the Paquito when I see a face looking right back at me. Instead of little nubby arms and legs though, this is an entirely different animal. It looks like a small Game Boy, really? Wait, is this BMO from Adventure Time? Wait, it is. I mean, it's even the color, right? What? Okay, well, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Networks.
You didn't see anything.
The device itself seems okay. The color is not my sort of thing, but they do have other options. The buttons on the housing feel good, and the D-pad seems good enough for this sort of thing. The face, or I guess what they call the core, has buttons on it that aren't tactile. I'll have to test those when the system is turned on to make my mind on those, I guess. The top has a USB-C charging port and a headphone jack and a 4-pin connector to add more modules. More on these later. Okay, so my first impressions were surprising. A quick start guide says to push the power button, but they really don't tell you you're going to launch the faceplate off like a saucer separation on the USS Enterprise. If you're not expecting it, you're going to lose it, and where it lands may change your entire day. Fortunately, no harm is done, but it did surprise me, that's for sure. It's meant to do this, of course, held on by magnets so you can turn the screen between landscape and portrait. This clever idea is as unique as a crank on the Playdate. Honestly, I think the fact that it runs without the housing entirely gives you a ton of more options. It can be turned to a watch, for instance. They encourage this by including a silicone housing with a strap if you really want to show people how nerdy you really can be. I can't see a kid walking around with this thing without getting beaten up, but who am I to say, really? I had something similar when I was a kid. Even on my wrist, it just looks awkward. It's still a cool idea. If you want to program something that's on your wrist, this is certainly a way. Who else offers this? So here we go, a sort of Game Boy you can turn into a watch that you can program the hell out of. Is that it? Well, no, hardly. There are other things included as well if you want to choose them in your creation. There's a built-in Wi-Fi to help with speech recognition programs, or an accelerometer if you want to make your own pedometer. And there's even an IMU sensor if you want to make something that uses tilt actions. It has so much potential, but that's only the beginning. Besides what's built in already, you can purchase these fairly inexpensive modules that connect to the 4-pin connector on the top that I mentioned earlier. The first thing they have is an ultrasonic module. This can be used to detect noise and measure distances. There's a soil moisture module if you want to detect the amount of moisture that's in something, like a plant. A touch and LED module that has 8 lights and 2 touch pads for a variety of projects. Also available is a potentiometer module to add flexible control or volume to brightness or whatever your heart desires. There's even a 7-segment display module if you want to make an old clock or something, and even a servo module controller to control the angle and speed of servo motors. So being armed with all these possibilities, you can create almost anything you want, and I'm guessing the extra module count will continue to grow as this thing gets more popular, or, most likely, you can make your own, which I'm sure Ovobot encourages. Which brings up the most important part of all this, how to put this all together. How hard is this to program, and how will kids who have never done this before be able to take all this and run with it? One of the most important things about this is the programming and learning how to use it. Ovobot seems to have you covered with its use of MakeCode Arcade-based Maker, a visual programming language that lets users configure their devices using a drag-and-drop system. Is it that easy to use? I figure if I could handle it, I would make something myself, and I did. I'll show the little thing I made later, but until then, let's just say they have beginners covered with tutorial examples and enough resources to help you hit the road running. If you're an advanced programmer, this thing can even handle JavaScript or Python, if that's your bag also. So what's on this thing already? Can you start playing things on this out of the box? Yes, it's not a lot, but it's enough to pique some interest, that's for sure. It even has an emulator built in that can run NES games, but it plays games slower than I would like. I can see playing Game Boy games on here going a lot smoother. Or maybe Pokemon Mini? It may exist already, but the one bad thing I have found is looking for games and software for this thing. I'm sure it exists, but I haven't found an easy way to find it. When I find more resources, I'll provide a link in my website that will help you as much as I can. Well, if you have one also. As cool as this is, and as much as it sounds like I may work for Ovobot, my impressions of this have me doubting children would be interested in this out of the box. They may pick this up, play a few games, and never touch it again. I say, if you intend to buy this for a child, you might have to encourage them a little. Really work with them to find out what they may want to make. If your kid is asking for this before you even watch this video, then you know what you need to do. Will you be playing hardcore games on this thing? Or wearing it as a watch? Probably not, but your kid might, that's for sure. It's an interesting system, and as far as an educating platform, I get it, and I support it fully. STEAM learning for life. It sort of reminds me of an old toy I had when I was a kid named Capsella. You put these globes together that had motors, gears, batteries, and you could make a car, a boat, or even if you wanted, make a little vacuum. You had everything you needed. You just had to be motivated to make something. Once you were making stuff, you were hooked. Enough said. Before I forget, here's the game I made. I'll make a link to grab it and or play it in the description below. It's called Retro Zoltan Says. You push a button and it answers a yes or no question. I'll try it right now. Will I get the Playdate handheld someday? Outlook not so good. Well, that's fair, I guess. And that's all I have to say about the Xtron Pro. Elon Musk, get ready to meet your equal when a kid makes a lunar rover out of this thing. Thanks for watching and thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time. Bye. So what do you think of my new watch?
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love it.
I'm going to wear it from now on.